Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So obviously now we are just 2 days into the LEC season, and after a crazy offseason, we really didn't know what to expect too much coming into this season. You know, everyone's going to have a little bit different expectations for every team, and really from top to bottom, there was a lot of teams that were going to be hard to rank. Like, who's going to be the best team? Who's going to be the top 3? Who's going to be the middle, the worst teams? Everything, expectations, predictions, everything was a little bit all over the place. And again, after 2 games, it's not like we know completely what's going on. It's not like we can make concrete observations or anything like that. But with each game, we get a little bit more and more of the picture. And when you take a look at the standings, the top of the standings are pretty interesting right now. Obviously, Astralis, Misfits there. Nobody would have really expected that. And nobody really expects that to continue further. But what I want to talk about in this video today is the bottom of the standings. SK, Excel, those were 2 very popular picks to be having towards the bottom of the standings, but then you have the odd man out there in Fnatic, and I want to talk about what's been going on with them so far, what kind of issues they're having, what things been going well, what things haven't, and what it means for the rest of the season and even into the future for Fnatic. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention, if you guys have not already, please take a second, smash that like button. I would appreciate it so much. Helps me out a ton of the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, here we go. So Fnatic had a crazy offseason. They end up getting rid of Selfmade. Whippo ends up going to jungle. They got Adam in the top lane. And this whole season, even dating back to last offseason, you know, Fnatic had a really good season in 2020. They had a good Worlds performance at 2020. And yes, they were losing Nemesis and they were losing Reckless, but people saw Upset as a pretty good replacement to Reckless, probably a downgrade, but you know, a lot of people saw Niski as a big upgrade to Nemesis. So expectations were really high for this Fnatic team in 2021. You know, they were going to be a similar team to that in 2020. Maybe a little bit worse, maybe a little bit better, but even a little bit worse than what they were in 2020 was still pretty damn good, and a little bit better was maybe a semifinals appearance at Worlds. But again, that is not how this year has gone at all for Fnatic. In the spring split, we saw a Bwipo that we did not see in 2020. It was a much worse version. Same thing with Hylissang, same thing with Selfmade. Niski came in and was solid, but I just think he's overrated. And Upset really gave out an MVP performance for this team, but it just wasn't enough. You know, Fnatic was definitely holding him back a little bit. But again, that talent, that core, those same players, Selfmade, Bwipo, Hylissang, those guys that had that crazy good 2020 season, those guys that almost beat top esports at Worlds, they were still there. So people just kept holding out hope. Even though it didn't happen in the spring, we come into summer and, you know, there's some changes. People are like, oh, okay, Bwipo jungle's a little bit weird, but I could see it working. Okay, he's going to have some synergy with Hylissang, with that support jungle duo. Okay, Adam, pretty good top laner. Maybe he's a future. Maybe things will work out different. But so far, it is not looking like things are much different. And honestly, it looks like Fnatic is just a worse version of what they were in the spring split. And this is going to be a rough season for Fnatic fans. And yes, again, just 2 games into the season. But what we are seeing so far, from Fnatic, but also from the players they have let go, like we were seeing Vitality on Selfmade, Selfmade on Vitality, is that, yeah, Selfmade was not the problem with this Fnatic team, and that they just have issues that are deep-rooted. Again, I don't know if this is coaching issues, management issues, team synergy issues. We're still seeing a lot of the same bad deaths from Bwipo and Hylissang. Nothing's changed now that Bwipo's jungle. It's still, you know, that same kind of stuff is there. Hylissang still having a lot of those weird deaths. And again, these were players that were so great in 2020, and now on the last year of their contracts, which sucks for them. With the 1 year left on your contract, that is the worst time to have a bad year, and that's the position that both Bwipo and Hylissang are in. Things are not going well, and things are looking rough so far. Obviously, the first game of the year against Misfits, if you want to be a playoff team, if you want to be a team that even has an outside shot, a dark horse chance at going to Worlds, if you want to, you know, maybe say that our team is so talented, we have all these veterans, if everything clicks, we can make it to Worlds. If you want to compete for those top 3 spots, you've got to be beating teams like Misfits. I think Misfits is solid. I think they could solidly be the 5th or 6th best team in the LEC and have no problem with that. They have a lot of young players that are building towards the future. They have a nice, you know, core in Kabe and Vander, but this team's not going to Worlds in 2021. This team's not close to Mad Lions, Rogue, or G2. And, you know, Fnatic comes out and drops the first game of the season. And again, it's just the first game of the season. It's not the end of the world. But this team does not have a ton of time to pull this all together. And again, we were just seeing a lot of the same issues. Bwipo did not necessarily have a bad game on Rumble, going 7-4-6. But again, just a lot of bad deaths from the combination of Bwipo and Hylissang. The Fnatic team just looking like they have a lot of those same issues. Just overall looking like, you know, Selfmade wasn't the problem, and Fnatic making the decision to get rid of their jungler and Selfmade to start role swapping, to start changing all this stuff, really seems like, you know, in the end, it didn't really do a whole lot. And then obviously they have this game with Mad Lions where, again, some things went well for Fnatic in this game, some things didn't. What I do notice is that the other team has gotten Akali in both their games, and I think Akali is one of the most busted champions in the entire roster right now. Again, so could be some coaching, draft, management issues going on there. But Fnatic obviously starting out the season 0-2. Next up, they play Rogue, and then they play Vitality. There's absolutely a world where Fnatic could be starting out like 0-4 and really being behind the 8 ball before things even get going. And honestly, they would be at risk of not even making the playoffs. Because if we take a look at the standings, I think everybody expects, you know, G2, Rogue, Mad Lions, they're going to be somewhere in that mix. They're going to be 3 of those 6 teams making the playoffs. Then you also have Vitality, who is looking like a pretty solid team. Obviously, Vitality did beat Schalke and lose to Rogue, but this was a very, very close game that they lost to Rogue, where a lot of their team looked good. You know, leader going 5-2 on Viego. SLT had some crazy moments on Gwen. Lavrov went 1-7-7. Wasn't the best. Crown Chat kind of got put in some weird positions, but this was a game where Vitality like tied up the gold, or maybe took a gold lead for a little bit pretty late into the game. They could have beaten Rogue, and some people think Rogue could potentially be the best team in the league right now. And then also they beat Schalke, and you might be like, oh, you know, it's just Schalke. It's not that crazy of a win. But then Schalke goes on the next day to beat G2. So maybe that is a pretty big, impressive win for Vitality there. So maybe Vitality is a very, very strong team, a top 4 team like people kind of expect them to be. And then there's just some other really, really tough teams in the mix. Again, Schalke taking a win over G2. People expect Misfits to be really, really good. Again, Astralis is starting out the season 2-0. It's going to be a tough road for Fnatic, and honestly, with this lineup playing how they are right now, as crazy as it sounds, with so many veterans, Niski, Upset, Hylissang, Bwipo, this team might not even be a playoff team. And then what would that mean for the future of Fnatic? That means that Bwipo is probably going to be gone. But what's he going to do? Is he going to continue to be a jungler on another team after the season? Is he going to go be a top laner on another team this season, somewhere in Europe? Would he go to the LCS? Is he going to retire and be done and go to commentating, casting, whatever you want to call it, being an analyst? And then the same situation with Hylissang. Is Fnatic going to bring him back? Is he going to, you know, if Bwipo's gone, is Hylissang going to be gone? Is Hylissang going to stay? Would Hylissang go to the LEC? Would he go to the LCS? Who would want him? Would he end up on a top team, mid-2 team, bot team? You know, I don't exactly know. But this is really, really crazy because a lot of these Fnatic players, again, with expiring contracts, and this Fnatic team that has a huge fan base, is always supposed to be one of the best teams in the LEC, is always supposed to be at the top, competing for not only LEC titles, but world titles. All of a sudden, they're looking like a bottom team in the LEC, and that is scary. That is not good. That is not good enough for Fnatic fans, for Fnatic management, for this organization, for esports in general. You know, the LEC is better when its top teams, its big fan bases are good. And man, Fnatic just seems like an awful, awful mess right now. Again, we've been hearing about them having financial issues, management issues, coaching issues. We heard about all the drama behind the scenes with Selfmade, and he said this, and people are being toxic, blah, 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 whatever. But man, it is rough. And again, Selfmade, who didn't have that great of a split last year, or in the spring split, he was looking a little bit rough. He is off to a very, very hot start for Vitality right now in the summer split. So man, it seems like, you know, getting out of Fnatic can be a great situation for a lot of players. And again, Selfmade is going to have all the options open in the future. He's just got 1 split left on his contract. He's going to be able to go get paid if he has a big summer split. So this might end up working out really well for him as well. But man, this is a mess for Fnatic. Selfmade was not the problem. Fnatic still having a lot of the same issues they had last split, and things are not looking good. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. What should Fnatic do? Is it time to blow up this roster? Do they need to start looking at ERL players? Do they need to start looking at other veterans in the league? Do they need to rebuild for the future? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!